Hi everybody, welcome back. We're gonna be continuing on making a coiled Mad Hatter hat, like so. I've got my little hair bun thing on, but anyways, it's a fun little hat. You can move it all over. If you want to look on the inside, you can really see the effect of how it's coiled. You just wrap around and wrap around and wrap around and felt as we go. So I've been felting this other hat that I will bring up here. And I've been wrapping it around this metal bowl. Now, the upper part, I kind of did like a doily because it was, I had to add a bunch of extra fiber because this has got a lot of like sparkly added into it, which is not wool, not alpaca, not mohair, and it was kind of tightly spun, so it made it a little harder to needle felt together. So I just took a collection of, some complementary colors, and I stuck those underneath here to kind of supplement. Now I've got this kind of tightly wrapped around. This part down here is not felted at all. So we're going to work on felting this part. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some fiber. I'm going to kind of stuff it in there where there's like a gap. Make sure that my yarn is sticking out. I'm going to take my needle felt needle and I'm just going to kind of go alongside and felt into this. And I think what I'll do is maybe do a close-up for you guys so you can get a little closer and see what all is going on. Let's zoom in there. And we'll see how this is going. So you see what I'm doing? I'm not punching into the metal that's underneath here because that would break my needle. But I'm just connecting all of these pieces that are really not connected yet. And after I get this done, I'm gonna start wet felting it. Now I told you in the last video that I was going to show you how I did these wackadoodle things, but I decided that I don't really want this hat to be as wacky. So if it occurred, I'm really not going to try to do that. But basically what I did is in certain spots, like right here in the front, where I have this extra bit, all I did was just wrap that around and needle felted it. Maybe I'll even do that right here, maybe just a little. I needle felted it, and then when I wet felted it, I just shaped that with my fingers. You can do whatever you want with your hat, and that's what makes it so much fun. And these bits in this other hat were actually just add-ons in the yarn. So in parts of the yarn, they just had these squiggles sticking out of the yarn. So I didn't really add those. That was part of the structure of the yarn. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and pause this and we're gonna start wet felting. But before I start, let me talk to you really quick about soap. Now, in a lot of videos online about felting over, making a felt hat over a ball, a lot of people I noticed are using Dawn dish soap. Okay, don't use Dawn dish soap, okay? Dawn is awesome for if you are going to be washing your fleece and you don't want to felt it, it's very safe for not felting because it's pH neutral. Okay, a pH neutral will not affect the fibers of wool or alpaca or anything else that felts. So you kind of want to avoid that because then all the work that you're doing in felting is only coming from friction and heat. What does it take to felt? It takes friction, it takes heat, it takes moisture, and if you want to up it a notch, it takes soap. Okay? So the harsher the soap, the faster it felts. Now a lot of people love this square soap that you get from France. I mean, it's literally, you can only get it in France, and it's expensive because it has to be imported. But I noticed, you know, Nuno felters love this stuff, but I noticed it slows me down. So kind of a rule of thumb is the more gentle it is on your hands, the less it's gonna felt. So the longer you will end up felting, if you know this gentle. So I just get this. I used to have it made for my shop. It's Studio 108. Jennifer Schaefer makes it for me. She's local. And if you ask her for felting soap on her Etsy shop, she'll hook you up. So this is what I use because it doesn't dry out my hands too much, but it doesn't slow my felting down either. All right, so let's pause and I'll put a net over this and we'll get started felting. Okay, so I ran out to the shop, got my net. Now, this is just tulle, all right? All you need is something to put over this that is gonna allow your hands to slide and you don't get stuck onto the wool. Otherwise, your hands are gonna get sticky. Now you could, if you had a sheer, you know, what do you call it, curtain, you could use that too. It just has to let the water pass through and let your hands go over it. That's it. All right, could be nylons, could be old yoga pants, could be anything. Basically, as long as it's synthetic and it's not gonna felt, then go for it. Now we need to get this wet. So let's go ahead and turn our water on. I'm gonna pause while I get it wet for you. Well, no, I'll show it getting wet. All right, let's turn you over here. The sink, because a lot of people ask me, how wet does it need to be? Not that wet. Okay, so we're just gonna wet it down a little bit. Doesn't need to be soaking. Just wet enough to get your soap sudsy. Okay. Now, so I don't get my cushion all wet, I'm going to put my little dishwashing thing over this. All right, soap. This is all we're gonna do. So, to recap, basically make your doily shape as you coil it around. And when you need to felt it upside down, this one I did, you know, needle felting just over the thing. This one was just too hard. So I just basically needle felted a flat round doily shaped thing till it got out to about here. And then I kind of wrapped it around once I got to down here. If you start down here, it's just all gonna slip off, so. Now, if you're ever felting and you're like, it's not felting, I don't know what to do, add more soap. You cannot go wrong with too much soap. You can go wrong with too much water, but never too much soap. So you want to get it good and sudsy. I'm not sudsing up enough, so I'm going to get this even wetter. You don't see suds, you're not felting. Okay? You need suds. Now, after you get this kind of pre-felted and good and sudsy, you can take off your net. In fact, you want to check your net every now and then, or else your net will actually get stuck to all the wool. And I'm just doing a light hand. I found out a lot of beginners want to shove their hand on there. You don't really want to do that. You want to just be with the palm of your hand going around. Okay. I'm going to pause. Just because I don't want to use up my memory on boring stuff, because this is all fairly repetitive. Oh, you notice I would do that. Don't go up and down. You're just gonna mess it up. I mean, unless you have a nylon over it. See, this is not holding it in place at all. So I don't wanna move it around too much. If you have a nylon holding it in place, or if you had a rubber band down here holding everything really tight, then feel free to knock yourself out and go wild. But I do not have it held tightly, just for time. And so I'm not going to do that. Not yet. Now, when I get later on in the felting process, when this is more felted, then I'll get wild on it. But not yet. Okay, so this is how we're going to start for now. Just keep repeating this, and I will take you to the next spot in part 3. And I'm sorry this is all not one super easy video that you can just sit down and watch. Look at that. That's metal right there. Stick a little fiber underneath that part. Fill it up. I said I just can't quite do my videos like I used to, because they took away the editing software in the YouTube Creator Studio, and I can no longer piece these together to make longer ones. Okay.